This is the Reinforce Your Gym podcast with your host, Dustin Vogel. This show is about arming gym owners with the tools, strategies, and lessons they need to take their business to the next level. That way, they can make a greater impact in their community. Now, let's get to work and reinforce your gym.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode. Today it's going to be a short topic, but I want to stress that does not mean it will not be valuable. In fact, I think this might be one of the most valuable topics that I've talked about in a while, and I don't want you to miss it, okay? Especially if you feel like the pain in your business is around lead follow-up and sales, all right? If that's you, then listen in, all right? Today, we're going to be talking about a subject called hot potato sales, all right? And so it's something that I just see so much in gyms, and it hurts my heart because I know their gym can grow and be bigger if they solve this one thing. It's a mindset. And I get that it came from a place of, like wanting to do the right thing, but I just see so many problems. We got to definitely, as an industry, move away from thinking like this, all right? So what is hot potato sales? Well, that is where a lead or a trial that needs to be closed is essentially being tossed from person to person. Maybe the coach will follow up with them. Maybe the front desk will, maybe the manager, maybe the owner, until someone drops that potato, right? The ball gets dropped, the potato gets dropped, same thing. But essentially, that's hot potato sales, is team closing, and having this mindset that everyone's responsible for closing. Well, when everyone's responsible, I can promise you no one will be responsible, because people don't like thinking of tasks as like a shared responsibility where we're all playing nice in a sandbox. As much as we try to stay away from silos work best because there's clarity. It means my job is to do X task. It is to own X responsibility so I can add X value to the business. When everyone is kind of all playing in that same sandbox, people don't feel like they, are needed, or they don't feel like they're the best person, because otherwise you would have gave it to me. That's why, you need to call on all these other people. And it just creates confusion, and worst of all, missed opportunity with sales, waste of your ad spend, and then just, I get it, frustration for you as a gym owner, because you're like, hey, I told my team they need to help, but I want to challenge you to step up as a leader and change away from hot potato sales to a better system, which is what I'm going to be covering here. All right. So the reason that this episode even came up is because I'm hot off of a call with a gym owner that spent $2,000 on ad spend. They got 200 leads, all right, wonderful results, but they had no sales from those 200 leads. And it's because they are playing hot potato sales with their team. They're having the front desk close when they can. They're having the coaches close when they feel up for it. And there's not really any sense of leadership or ownership. So guess what, guys? If someone feels like their job is safe and that's not a requirement is to close, they'll just keep dodging closing, right? There has to be accountability. So here's the truth. Whoever is going to own it must be held accountable. When one person is tied to a result, things get very clear, right? And so it's like, I bet you don't have somebody sharing in the scheduling of the staff or sharing in the payroll. There's one clear person. It's like, oh, you need to change your schedule next week. Go talk to this person. Oh, there was a mistake on your paycheck. Go talk to this person. Imagine if those things were shared by multiple people. The team would be frustrated. They'd be lost. Like, they need to know who does what. So this helps on that accountability chart of like who oversees who. Owner, I got news for you. You are responsible for sales always. Even if you hate it, it is a function. Just like you might not like bookkeeping or paying your taxes and all this, admin stuff. Still, the buck stops with you if those things are not done. That goes for everything in the business, including sales. So whether you decide to knight somebody as the person that does the sales, or you are doing it yourself, you need to either be holding this person accountable or doing this task and holding yourself accountable, right? The other thing that comes up, I've seen this time and time again, when a lot of people are sharing in it, it's inconsistent messaging. One person says like, hey, I can give you a discount. The next person's like, no, we stopped doing that. And so then the clients are getting lots of different quotes and messaging. And so like, these are the things that confuse them, and a confused buyer does not buy, right? And so we need to not have all these different people out doing quotes and different deals. And then the other thing is, when they're texting you, there could be a lot of delays in responses because everyone's waiting for the other person to respond. And that's why we need clarity. And I want to even say that there's like a category to this, that it could be that somebody owns it during one window of the day and then someone owns it a different window of the day, right? There could be an AM manager or salesperson, and there could be a PM one. It does not mean one person needs to do all sales. It just needs to be clear on who does it when. And that way the team is not confused, and neither is your leads, right? That's not a bad thing, in my opinion. A lot of people are afraid of like, we have two people following up. There's going to be more cooks in the kitchen. Guys, how many people do you talk to when you message Amazon? You might go through 20 different people in a year, right? Because every time you message them, someone else got your ticket. That is not a problem, right? And so if that bothers you that they're going to talk to like Joe and then Susie when they text the gym, you could just change it to the team. Like, hey, this is the team at XYZ Fitness. Yes, you asked about this. We're on top of it. But it's one of those things that our mindset holds us back. There's plenty of companies with huge follow-up teams and customer service teams. So one or two is not going to ruin, quote unquote, the client experience, because that is something I hear often. Hey guys, just taking a quick break to ask for one thing. If you can give us a 5-star review, it'd mean the world to me. It helps get me feedback on what you're enjoying about the show and how we're adding value to your business. And it helps us get the word out so we can turn the tide on this war against obesity. So give us a 5-star review and let's get back to the show. Now, let's get into this ownership around sales. First, it needs to be said to the person. Do not assume that they know. Like I heard a lot of people say, oh, my GM knows, they're in charge of follow-up. Really? Because then when we talk to them, they're like, oh, I thought you were going to help out. I thought we were going to co-own it. You see how the confusion begins is a lack of clarity. So if you have not said this to the GM, the coach, anybody who besides you that's in charge of sales, we need to go state it and say, hey, I want you to know you're in charge of sales. And then the next part is when, what days and what times. Make it so crystal clear, no mistakes can be made. And then talk through the plan of who owns it outside of that. Is it you, the owner? Did you hire, one of our sales reps from GR? Like, who is owning the sales process, literally down to the days and the hours? That level of detail, I know it might be a big lift for you, but your business will be better for it. So first, we got to start with clarity. Who's doing it and when? And then next, we want to put measurables on them, okay? And so we want to say, hey, I need you to track a few KPIs, and I want you to put it on this spreadsheet or scorecard, as we call it, every week, what your totals were for the week, so we can start to have some columns side by side and see how the weeks are going, and then troubleshoot numbers that are low, right? But it's that famous phrase, right? You got to inspect what you expect. If you are not having them track their numbers, our brain's always biased to us doing amazing, right? We never think we're doing terrible. The numbers are the wake-up call people need. You think last week was great? Well, let's look. And then, I guess we didn't have such a great week. So that is what you want to have for your knowledge to hold this person accountable. So some basic numbers, guys, right? How many appointments did they set? How many showed? How many closed? Set, show, close. Just bare minimum for sales, okay? Now, if you want to go a step further, how much MRR did they add last week, right? Monthly reoccurring revenue. That's like basic par for the course. Should not be a gigantic lift for them. Everyone can enter those 4 numbers every Friday and put in their end of week stats and then review it with you the next Monday or Tuesday and just systematically do that. And that's the next part here is we get clear on who owns it. We give them metrics and make them responsible for owning their metrics. You do not enter it. You do not hire anyone else to enter it. Everybody needs that full ownership over their metrics. They're not babies. They can do this. And then number 3, we need systematic accountability and review, which means you put on your calendar a weekly meeting to look at KPIs live with the person and coach them on the numbers that are not hitting KPI, right? And so they systematically entered on Friday. Let's say you systematically meet on Monday. It's just rinse and repeat. You do not have to ask, hey, we're meeting again Monday. Yep, we're doing it every Monday. It's reoccurring. It's just a system in the business, just like we run an 8 a.m. session that we never have to ask, right? These are the basics that so many gyms are not following. So I really implore you, if you don't have that in place, that's the solve here. And then the final part is you hear the phrase, be quick to fire and slow to hire. Well, I agree with that, especially around sales. You got to make it completely a performance goal. And so people will show you their skill in the first 30 days most of the time. If you want to give them a little bit of a stretch, 60 days, you see what you're going to get. And so if that coach is not hitting the numbers that you want, you have a choice. You either have to walk through the fire of building them up and training them and spending more time with them. They will not get better without time. When we say like, how do you develop somebody? It is literally giving them time. It's not sending them a podcast, sending them a book and trying to outsource it. It is spending time with them and literally listening to the words they're using, going through the script, role playing it with them, as awkward as it is. Okay, start with your greeting. Okay, this was good about the greeting, but I want you to change that. All right, now let's go to the transition about talking about the discovery questions. All right, the transition was a little rough. Discovery questions, perfect. You hit them all. Like literally go through every section of it step by step so that they feel very confident in the whole script, right? And so if that's something that you don't want to do because you don't love it or you don't just basically want to deal with sales at all, you got to find someone that comes factory installed, that has sales background and not just sales experience. Like they can share numbers. Because the funny thing that no one thinks through is like someone comes up to you and says, oh, I could do the GM role. I have sales background. Well, if they've sold anything like a protein bar, they have sales experience. Well, woohoo, welcome to the club. What we want to ask is how good were they at sales? Tell me your best month. What was your record month? What was your closing percentage, right? How many appointments did you have in a week? What was your volume like? What was the average ticket? Good salespeople know these numbers at the tip of their tongue. And if you see them starting to like stumble and fumble and not remember, I could tell you they're probably not a good salesperson. Every good salesperson knows these numbers and they can rattle them off because it's their version of something to brag about and be proud of. And that's in their world. So, how many months were they on the leaderboard? What was the record month? Like these are things you want to know. So don't just jump for excitement the minute someone says I have sales experience. They could have just sold a protein bar. They could have sold one and they're like, oh yeah, my other gym, I definitely sold all the time. Define all the time, right? Define how many sales you made on an average month. These are the very specifics that people try to like throw, just I call them word salads, just a bunch of nothings at you. And you got to kind of make your way through the salad and find the meat, right? And so that's really what's important. So how do we transition out of hot potato sales just so I can get you guys, out of pain and into growth as fast as possible? Define who owns the sales, when and what time, and make that very clear. Get them on a script and a process. Do not allow people to freestyle, right? This is something that needs to be followed to a T so that we can measure its success and then adjust accordingly. Get into weekly KPI reviews. Be someone who listens to calls too. I know it's not the funnest thing, but you probably have listened to quite a few podcasts and audiobooks. We don't need you listening more to that. What your business needs is listening to more call recordings and providing feedback. And then let the coaches do what they love, and that is coaching. They did not become a coach because they love to sell. Yes, you can argue that they need to learn it, and that's how they really change the person's life. But in my opinion, that is the more upward battle of our industry. You could fight with a ton of pain and upward battle doing that, or you can just find someone who loves sales and teach them how to sell fitness rather than finding someone who loves fitness and trying to teach them how to sell. I just found that to be the most difficult way up the mountain, but to each their own. All right. So that's it, guys. If you need help on this, send me a message on Instagram or Facebook. Very active, happy to help you with your hot potato sales and get a system dialed in. And if you want to book a call, feel free to do that at gymreinforcements.com. Till next week, talk soon. Hey, gym owners, let's face it, you probably don't love digital marketing. You probably don't want to go into Facebook and load the ad up and think of ad copy and creatives and optimize it daily. Well, hand that over to me and my team because we're geeks about marketing and we want to flood your gym with new members so you can change their life. Let us do what we do best. All right, go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call. Don't bring the credit card. It's not a hard pitch. It's just a conversation to see if we're a good fit. Talk soon.